Hello everybody, my name's Tim. Welcome to Dinosaur Cars Garage. Why Dinosaur Cars Garage? Well, I'm a dinosaur and so are the cars I'm going to be working on. I guess what we want to do here is just show the average guy in a garage that's about the size of mine how he's able to work on cars and have fun with them, do some basic repairs and modifications, some painting, things like that, along with movie trivia having to do with cars, trucks, and all the movies us motorheads like. So what we're going to be working on today is 1961 Corvette. I got a Corvette that I bought a hardtop for. I've had this car since about 20. So here's the car we're working on, 1961 Corvette. It has a 245 horsepower 283 in it. Those are dual WCFB Carter carburetors. And what WCFB means is white cast 4-barrel. Still has the original generator on it, cable tack drive. So pretty much all original. It was rebuilt right before I had bought the car. I had a 305 in it or something, but it still came with the original engine. And the guy I had got it from had just had it rebuilt. Stuck a set of old school Tigers on it. These are the 15 by 4.5 in the front, so they're the skinny ones. Kind of has a little bit of a gasser look, but no straight axle. And 15 by 7s in the back. So here's the hard top for it, and I can tell you what I'm going to use to start preparing this roof, which I've already started. But what you would need to do is get a set of, start with some 220 paper to sand down some of the rough spots, and then you can go to get the 400. I got this at O'Reilly, and then I got a sanding block. So before I decided to try out this YouTube thing, I started to sand this. And where you see these spots here down to the primer, I gave it a scuff because it had a bunch of chips. You can see there's some chips here. There's a big scratch here. There's a garage cat Lauren. But started sanding all this down. So what we're gonna do is we'll continue sanding. I can do maybe a time lapse of sanding with the coarser paper first, and then we'll go down to the 400. And then probably a 600 or 1000 to finalize it before we prime it. So before you begin sanding, what you want to do is get some sort of a grease, oil and grease and cleaner from your paint supply store to get rid of all the oil and grease or contaminants that might be in the paint, because otherwise when you sand it, you're just going to push all that trash into the paint, which whatever you put on top of it, your primer, your paint, whatever, all those contaminants are going to be below the surface of the paint. Could make your paint fisheye, lift, give you problems or anything like that. So you want to clean it thoroughly before you start sanding. The guy at the paint store told me even just use something as simple as Sprayway window cleaner. If you're on a budget and you want to be really cheap, you can use that. But I use the oil and grease remover. So be sure to do that to protect your paint before you start. So what we're going to do here is continue with this. We're going to do a wet sand. So I just start with a little bit of water here. Dip your sanding block in there. I have my 220 here, and we're just going to start to sand. And what the water does is it stops the paint and whatever you sand off from getting stuck in your sandpaper. You can see that it's all running off there. That would typically ball up and stick to your sandpaper, meaning you're going to go through a lot more sandpaper. And then I stuck some rags and some towels on the other side of here to catch any water that might run off so it doesn't get all over the car. You just want to give nice even strokes with steady pressure. You don't want to be going crazy like this. You kind of want to do it nice and even to cut it all down. What we want to do is sand all these little pimples that had come off that are now look like chips. And that was probably due to bad paint preparation. So if you can feel anything to the touch, you're going to be able to see it through the paint. Another trick is, an old timer told me one time, take a t-shirt, rag or something like that, and run that across, and that helps amplify the touch of any imperfection. And I can just feel on this back side here, I can just feel a little bit there, so that's going to still need some more. I can even feel it dragging a little bit as it hits that spot. We don't want to go too deep. We don't want to go down into the fiberglass either. So you just got to watch that you don't get too crazy, especially if you're using a coarser paper. Then it'll scratch your metal. I'm leaving the chrome trim in this because we're just going to be doing this the quick way. This car's a 20-footer, so we're not looking for a super expensive paint job. I was actually going to get this wrapped, and then I found out how much wrapping it costs and looked into getting the paint color that I wanted and put into the cans, which I'll get to that later. This was a much cheaper avenue than getting it wrapped. I did leave the chrome trim on it because we all know that that is not fun to take off or reinstall. And if you're careful, the paint is good right near the edges of it. There's a spot or two that are close, but I think we can tape around that and avoid having to pop the trim off of this. Anybody watching ever see the movie Hot Rod from 1979 with the guy with the primer willies racing that guy with that 68, I guess it was, old Cutlass, Munn's root beer, Sonny Munn. Well, when Brian was building that first car for the movie, that Dodge, he spray painted his with a rattle can, so why can't we? I really like that movie. It was a made-for-TV movie, pretty campy. I don't know why they couldn't put nice wheels in the front of all the cars. They all had nice wheels in the back, and they had just regular Steelies up front. It's on YouTube, called Hot Rod. Has Greg Henry in it. He's a star, and then it's Grant Goodeve, I guess, was the villain of the movie. He was a spoiled kid. His dad had a root beer company, and he sponsored the drag race and tried to fix it so his son would win. I think it was filmed in if I'm saying it right, Castigliga wine country, California. The drag race scenes were filmed at, called it Lion's Drag Strip in the movie, but I think it was filmed at Fremont Raceway, which closed around early 80s, 80, 81, 82 maybe. So as you can see, I'm sanding this here. Hopefully you can see it. And some of these chips are getting bigger. It's almost like the paint's peeling away. So we might have some work ahead of us here. because there's a little bit of overhang on this block here, I'm just putting a little pressure on my thumb here, just to try to give a little bit more. You can see some of that paint coming up. Give a little more surface area, surface pressure right there to try to get rid of some of those chips. And that's feeling pretty good there. With the next step up in number, so the higher the number on your coarseness of paper, the finer the paper is. So 30, 40, 60 grit, something like that. It's very coarse, very rough. This is 220, and I'm going to go to 400 and then like 1,000. So then there's even 2,000, and I think there's 2,000. But at some points you're almost sanding. It feels like you're just sanding it with a t-shirt. But you know, because they're that fine. But once we get this pretty much feathered out like this, we will fine tune it with the finer paper. I'm wondering if this whole area will have to be taken down to get rid of those chips. We probably could maybe get away with using some glaze putty here in those chips, but I think I want to sand them out. Again, this is not a show car, and I'm on a budget like, again, 80% of you people. So if you can do this and make it look good, and you get by and looks good at a car show. I'm not looking to win awards. I go to car shows for fun. I hate paid car shows. I'm more like cruise nights, cruise ins, and just car get-togethers. Tuners call them meets. I hate that phrase, but I like just going to cruise nights and have my car look good, and then you don't have to worry about it as much. You have a $200,000 restoration job, and you got to worry about who parks beside of you and people opening their doors. You almost got to be a guard dog around your car. So at least this way, you don't seem to have to worry as much. Not that you don't care about your car, just you don't have to worry as bad. It's coming out nice, that chip. It's almost gone. Yep, I can't feel any of that stuff there. Now these are going to have to come out because those, of course, we'll see. But these dark spots that you see there down to the primer, the dark primer there, they're all coming out real nice. Little sanding is just needed. This paint isn't all that thick on here. All right, so here we go. I've sanded it now with the 220. There's a couple of spots I've seen now that I wiped off all my yellow water that has the sanding water, it has the paint in it and everything. Just going to give it another look. I'm trying to feel with my fingers, feel if I feel any other imperfections in the paint, high spots, low spots, anything like that. Want to make sure it's feathered out as best as we can. So I got a spot, a couple spots right here, a couple chips we want to keep working on. And then after that, I think we can move on to the finer paper and then get ready to prime it up. So this got pretty good. I have everything wiped down now, dried off, and I do feel a little bit of texture here just from the differences in the going from the fiberglass to the primer to the paint. There's a couple edges here that could probably get feathered out, but we're going to use that with the finer paper. Everything else I can't feel to the touch. And should look pretty good when we get it filled in with primer. So we'll do the sanding of the next step next. And why am I sanding this while it's on the car? It's at an easier level for me. I'm tall enough I can get at this. This is an awkward top to put on a table or a workbench the way that it is, but when we go to spray it, I'll have it at a little bit lower level so I get a good view on where the paint and the primer is getting laid. So here's our 400 smoothing sandpaper. See, it says wet and dry, so you can do paint or primer coats with this. Again, I got this at O'Reilly's. I think it was about $8 or $9 for this packet. 9 by 11. You can always get your sanding block and just figure it out. Do it in thirds, cut it in thirds, you take a scissors, make it to size. Just make sure it fits within your sanding block.